We have a call to order for the Bartlett Economic Development Commission for the July 14th, 2014 meeting.
Jerry Cabasso.
Here.
Cecilia Green. Donna Weir.
Here.
Robert Perry. Nayan Metha.
Here.
Jim Russell.
Yeah.
Jeff Petro.
Yes.
Tracy Smedillo.
Here.
Mike Sobel.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Next item on the agenda would be the approval of the minutes from the previous meeting, which was June 9th. Do we have a motion to approve, or do we have any discussion?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
Do we have a second?
Yeah.
Second.
Yeah. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Abstain?
Aye.
Motion carried. Next item would be the discussion of the truth in inline advertising, which resulted from the Town and Country Gardens business visitation previously.
Thank you, Jerry. Yes, you're correct. This item resulted as a follow-up to a business visit conducted a couple months ago with Town and Country Gardens, right down the block over in Bartlett Plaza. And if you recall, our discussion last month focused on the issue that she brought to our attention about the order gathering websites, she calls them, where the businesses don't necessarily have a physical presence in the town or the state for that matter, and sometimes not at all. They come up high when you search whatever town you happen to be in to purchase flowers. One of them was Ava's that always comes up real high, and all the 800 flower services. So if you recall, the owner of that business was present last month and explained it to the commission, certainly better than I could, but the gist of the matter was that so many of their orders come through these search engines. I put in my staff report that the search engines or the order gathering sites take about 20% of the sale price off the top. Then looking at the minutes from last month I was reading, she said 26 or 27%, which is obviously exorbitant. You're paying on a $100 flower order, you're paying $26 or $27 to some website headquartered in California. They're sending the order to a local florist like Town and Country Gardens. They're putting together the order. Sometimes it might cost them close to the $70 or $75 themselves to put it together. So it eats into their profit margin greatly, or in some cases it eliminates their profit margin. So again, the discussion talked about an issue that what could a village do about it, or what could an economic development commission do about such a wide-ranging issue, since so many purchases now are done online just in that exact manner. Some of the commissioners, including Mike Sobel and other members who are other EDC members who are active with the Chamber of Commerce, noted that since this is a statewide issue, perhaps a coalition of chambers of commerce would be the right tact to pursue in bringing this issue to state legislators' attention. The bottom line is we're looking at ways that both the state of Illinois, with all its fiscal issues, can capture sales, as well as local sales tax for towns like ours and the others that have local florists and other businesses that are impacted by this. That being said, at the conclusion of that hearing, the EDC suggested that we bring this to the Chamber of Commerce attention. The EDC is represented by Mike Sobel, or the Chamber of Commerce, I should say, is represented by Mike Sobel on the EDC. So I'm going to, I should mention before I pass it over to him that I have spoken about it with Amy Feely of the Chamber of Commerce. But in terms of what action may be taken, or what the discussion was at the Chamber, I wasn't present for that. So I'd like to turn it over to Mike for his comments on this issue.
Thanks, Tony.
Yeah.
At our last monthly meeting, which was also our semi-annual planning meeting, I did bring it up at the regular portion of our meeting, and we kind of agreed to take a look at two different ways of pursuing this, so to speak. The first being speaking with other chambers to see if there's some commonalities and ways to kind of share the power, so to speak, and see if other people want to get behind it. That would be the first way. And the second way was going to be kind of through the political track. So one of our board members stays very connected to all the political figures in the area, whether it's statewide and countywide and citywide, and try to see if we can table it up somewhere there to see if we can get any traction on that. Since it was a semi-annual board meeting, we didn't have a lot of time to discuss it there because it was a planning session. So at the next meeting, I think there'll be some more discussion on the agenda for it. That's it.
Thank you, Mike, for that update. So, as the EDC suggested last month, it is an issue that's now on the Chamber's agenda. It's something that village staff will keep in contact with them as well, and will track whatever transpires with it and perhaps bring it back to the EDC in the near future. As you recall, last month when we brought this before you, we were suggesting that the EDC makes a recommendation for the village board to pass a resolution or something that we could send as a village to our local state legislator. So, or legislators, I should say. So this is one of these items where the village can work in tandem with the chamber in the hope that this gains some sort of traction. This is in the early stages, but it's a very important issue. I'm sure every week you all hear about different issues regarding the state of Illinois finances. So this is, it might not be just an Illinois issue either when these websites pay for top position throughout the country. So if there's any more questions about that, I'd be happy to try to answer them, or on the chamber side, Mike is your person for that.
It seems to me like the florist industry must have some sort of association that kind of monitors practices. I don't know, I mean, maybe some of the big website florists are, you know, big players in the association, but I think we should look up who the association is for fair practices in the florist industry.
I think Laurel mentioned that there is when Laurel was here last month, she did reference that there is a floral association. And I think it is something that is, that's on the table for that. It's an issue that's on the table for them also, I think. I think that's what she said.
She did say that. She gave me an article once I looked at about this issue from the floral industry. I went to the website, and unfortunately, like a lot of industry items, I couldn't access it because I don't have a log on. But they would have some headlines of different items that they were looking into. I can't remember the exact name, but it was something like the American Florist Association or something like that.
Well, I do remember her, in addition to mentioning her own professional association, she said one of the issues that they had is, again, being a member-driven association, they were being impacted by the larger commercial retailers like FTD, who can afford to have lobbyists that are really supporting the Internet-driven services. So I think they've got a little bit of a challenge from a resource perspective.
They haven't worked for associations for 20 years. I think sometimes if a group of members start complaining to the association itself, perhaps getting a session at one of the conventions about this practice, and I don't know who the appropriate people are to do that. It's certainly not the BBC, because it has to come from, a groundswell of independent florists that are suffering.
That's right. on behalf of the village, I talk about ICSC here sometimes, International Council of Shopping Centers, and I'm a member of that organization, and they're constantly lobbying in terms of internet fairness is what they call it. And that's something where they actually want to push really hard for the Amazon sales taxes. But you're right, that's an industry-wide issue. And from our perspective as an EDC in a village, it goes beyond just the florist industry, but that's how it was brought to our attention. We're not a heavy retail town, but that's one of our local small businesses that we want it to thrive, and we want it to generate sales tax revenues for not only the owner, but for the village and the entire state. So I could talk about this for hours, but it's an issue that I think we're doing the right things with the first steps. If the chambers could get aboard, that would have some impact. They would listen. If the state chamber could get involved, they carry a lot of weight. And then also, if as a village we can send something to a local legislator, it might be something that they're willing to pick up the ball and get it started on. I'm sure they're always looking at ideas of how to increase state revenues, and this is, I don't want to say this is an easy way, but this is a way that they could address that. So I think it's a very important issue, and we need to keep it on our radar screen.
Well, I think it's important for both local and state representation to at least demonstrate some overt support for the small business, I think especially since you have, Bartlett, we are trying to court new businesses, and Illinois is certainly trying to keep the small businesses, the small manufacturers in Illinois.
That's right.
Were you able to find out anything about that local address that was used on the website?
I'm sorry, about the local yeah, there's no florist there. I didn't really get beyond that. Yeah, it's an office, it's an office building on Norwood. And even if you were just to goof around and check in different towns, you would see that. And a lot of them use residential addresses.
Yeah.
Makes me wonder if the
How they
people
get
who
away
live
with
there
that.
know about that. So, yeah. There's no, I can't remember the name of the one, but it was...
I thought Jim said it was a dentist.
That's right. No, I don't mean that. I don't remember the name of the florist that they put on their website. They didn't. I think they call it Bartlett Florist or Bartlett something or other.
It was Bartlett something, yeah.
Okay. But it went right into a phone bank in California.
I'm having a little difficulty understanding how this situation differs from Tiger Direct. If I order something from Tiger Direct online, I have to pay Illinois sales tax on it because they have a store in Illinois. How does this differ? She's obviously a part of that website, isn't she?
Not necessarily.
No, these are
So doesn't she qualify
for
as
the
Illinois
Teleflora.
store?
Yes, every florist almost has to be a member of Teleflora.
She pays Illinois state sales tax?
Yeah. Right. If you walk in tomorrow and you buy your flowers there, you pay local sales tax. But I think if you order them through one of these search engine
So
websites...
it's just the 20% that she kicks back to them that is unpaid.
Right.
Yeah,
Well,
it's
that's
unpaid,
money
huh?
out of her pocket.
Okay.
Yeah.
I get it now.
Next.
Still sounds fishy. I don't know. If she's kicking 20% back, that should be taxable under state law.
That's
The
just the way the order...
customer in Illinois
No,
is
that's the way the
paying-
order comes through. When she showed, I went there with Jeff Petro, and she showed us an invoice
Well, the
that came...
customer in Illinois is still paying the full price. Just because she kicks 20% back to the online company, I don't know how they escape the 5%.
She doesn't
whatever the
give
sales
that.
tax is.
She get that, the online company takes that 20% from the order they receive
Yeah, she
online.
doesn't
She
give
doesn't give
So the
it.
money's
Right.
sent directly to the online company, and then they take 20% and send it back to her.
No,
Right.
they
No,
don't
no.
send her anything. She gets whatever percentage If the order's $100,
She gets 80
$27 goes to the online company, the other money goes to her. But sometimes what she's explained is that remaining balance, say $75, it almost costs that much to put that order together and ship it out. So she's covering the rest of the costs. That's how she explained it.
It's still unclear to me, though, because I've ordered flowers online, and I pay with a credit card, and it goes to the online company, which is probably out of state.
But the flowers come from wherever you're sending them.
Well, they're placing the order with her, though, so she's an Illinois company.
No, it goes to the online company.
They
So
don't-
if you're ordering
How does
from
she get
Bartlett,
how does she get the order, then?
she gets it from the company, the
That's what I
online
said.
company.
Yeah.
But it's a local order, but it's coming from California. So say like they want to send flowers to the Bartlett Countryside Funeral Home. The company in California gets the order, it comes into her, and she delivers the flowers already packaged to the Countryside Funeral Home from that order. And she gets whatever comes for that. It isn't her normal. She would normally charge $100 for an order like that. She's only getting $75. That's kind of what, and the online company's taking the other 25, say.
Jerry, it works like this.
Now I know
You-
there's
you
all the
think-
complaints about the stuff people.
Let's say
people
your
get.
example, you think
Doesn't
you're
look
clicking
like the
up
pictures.
a Bartlett florist, and you place that order. What you don't know is behind the scenes, it's not touching Bartlett yet. That series of instructions, when you hit click, in this example, goes to this California company. They in turn see you want a Bartlett florist. So they know, here's their 20%, this is the order that they're going to package together. They move it to her, unbeknownst to you, and they take their money off the top. She gets the order and what's left of the money. They, in effect, broker,
Yeah,
are totally invisible.
I understand all that. I mean, Tony just explained that. He said the same thing. The bottom line is, it's an Illinois customer receiving flowers from an Illinois flower shop.
And I get it, you're saying that the state of Illinois isn't
But there's a
receiving any,
loophole.
the
Yeah.
state of Illinois isn't receiving any sales tax on it.
It's an issue with the point of sale,
It's like a back
where
door
the money
order,
goes
you know?
when the point of sale is in California,
I
not
live in
Bartlett.
I live in Bartlett. I'm paying for flowers that are getting delivered from Town and Country.
Which is why a lot of places, which is why some people want to have tax imposed on anything, on any internet sale, because they're saying the same thing. It's a different issue, though.
That way you are, what we are trying to achieve here is bring it in front of the government to take some action where we want to discourage online orders. I mean, that's the trend and that's the market and it's going to happen. Only thing is what we are trying to do, probably government would do is, if something wrong mentioned by the guys who are online, like the address mentioned is wrong, that's what we probably can only draw attention and they have to be more vigilant, which already they are. They are. I mean, in this particular case, what we are talking and what we are trying to do, what we are going to achieve out of it, I'm just wondering, because government is very well aware of it, but people who are misusing the system, they want to catch hold of it. They are already working in the professional regulation department or corporate department who are licensing.
I think her whole point was, if the company says Bartlett Florist, it should be in Bartlett. But the online company should have a name like, online florist located in California or something. That's what her whole point is.
I mean,
Because when you call Bartlett Florist directly, Jerry,
There is nothing
you
in
can
the
order
point.
from them. Right.
Is there anywhere mentioned in the law or policy which I'm not aware of that what name you should be keeping it? Because
There is none.
Exactly.
There's no regulation on something like
so it's a question of competitions, and that's what is happening. And only thing is, we want to make sure that we bring it to the front of a government that such thing is happening. If you are not aware of it, if there is any loopholes, please close it. That's it. Otherwise, it's a fair business, and everybody is going to do.
That's
and
kind of what she's
whoever
saying.
who will be doing little smartly, they will take away the orders, I guess.
But the second part of that is, in addition to getting it in front of the government, the second part of it is to push shopping locally. I mean, that's what.
That
I
is
think
what
that-
we should. Yeah, that's
right.
our role.
That's why that was one of the reasons why they were coming to us. Is
Right.
Exactly.
how do we promote? We need to promote to shop local.
Exactly. That is where probably if we can come forward some strategy whereby encouraged people come forward and do local shopping, do encourage our own people who are in the local market. I mean, that is what we begin with originally, how downtown area can be developed, how the people, commuters can take part into the shopping or dining. We were discussing. So that can be, but this online to stop and then she should get the order, I guess that's very, very difficult and not possible because it's an open market.
And
Well
I
put.
think all she was asking for is that they fairly state where they're from. And then you can make a choice ahead of the time, here's a florist that's actually in Bartlett, or here's an online florist that'll send an order to Bartlett. She's trying to make that distinction. I don't know what the answer is and how it's going to be resolved.
That's
'Cause you
everybody
see that in
individuals,
every industry. I mean, I would just ordered, I had a leak in my basement. So I called the guy, I clicked on my town, where you're at, boom, and it came up Bartlett.
Yeah. Everybody
Leak
wants.
U.S. seepage. That guy's not in Bartlett. He's somewhere out in,
I mean, that's what is happening. Is everybody wants little comfortable. Like, look at the pizza, for instance. How many people go out and eat pizza? Most of the time they order and keep home deliveries. Example, I'm just talking. Same way flour. People don't want to go and shop. Same way, so many things. They pay Amazon, that's how it is growing. Every single thing, everyone nowadays online keeps on adding up the business. So
Well, you're right, Nyan, but again, it goes back to if I Googled Bartlett florist because I wanted to send you flowers and I saw the address of Bartlett Flowers and Gifts
that is where government
coming up
yes.
with an address
That's
and a
wrong,
phone
yeah.
number in Bartlett, and it turns out that location doesn't even exist.
That is fraud.
That's fraud.
And that is
And
what we
that's
have to
the
draw the
point.
attention, that this is such case has happened. I mean,
Well, I think that's how they got around with using that dentist's office. Unless that dentist is totally unaware, there must be some kind of agreement to fulfill that little piece, that little letter of the law, saying, quote, he's in Bartlett, even though he has absolutely no flower affiliation whatsoever otherwise.
yeah.
But these online companies, they offer pretty low prices. That's why people order. I mean, did she say she was in a position to offer the same thing at the same price?
We didn't really have a.
Did she compete with her?
Their profit margins, even though flowers are relatively expensive.
I mean, if
one-
they say they'll sell you 18 roses for $29.95, can she do that too?
I don't think so.
You know,
I mean, I shouldn't say that, but I think
Yeah.
I think that those, when you're getting that $29.95 roses online, you go to a local florist, there's very few that are going to hesitate for that price. It's based on quality, where they get their wholesaler, but
I heard there's been a lot of not around here, but I think I was watching Fox News or something. There's a lot of complaints nationwide that people are not receiving the flowers
That
that are in the picture.
She brought that to our attention,
They look a lot
right.
worse, you know?
Yeah, it was a big 2020
There
study.
can be
Well,
miscommunications in the order.
I think what's happening is the orders are getting placed, and florists are saying, well, we can't deliver this for that price, so they take a few out here, a few out there, don't put the thing
Exactly.
together the
Maybe
way it
that's the
appears,
way
you
it
know?
is
and,
So at the end of the day, that's what exactly happens.
it's subterfuge.
You know, they're taking shortcuts too, so they can get back some of that 20%, so you don't get what you're.
I mean, that
what
is
you
one of
think
the
you're
reasons why
paid
people
for.
should go shop
Right.
personally in the village, in the shop. Because I'm paying $100, as in the example stated, I pay $100. Those online guys give this lady $80. So she's packing up stuff, what she can get earning out of that 80 accordingly. And that's what you're saying. Like, I'm just, not that she's doing, I'm giving an example. So as a customer, I paid full price, whereas I got inferior qualities of stuff.
Yeah, but it's a competitive thing.
So
you
that
know?
way, if that also education is given to the people, they get more of it in such cases, not in a.
It's a competitive thing. The only reason people shop online is for price and for ease of placing the order. They don't have to get in their car, and drive, and look at the flowers and all that.
I have a devil's advocate question. This
I mean, he's right. If, we could increase the public awareness to order from local florists.
But again,
that would
only
be-
it will happen with some
that would be
perishable
good.
food or something like this, flowers. How about if I want to buy a computer? How about if I want to buy a watch? How about if I want to buy a pen? I mean, it doesn't matter whether I walk in or I go online. What manipulation you're going to do with this? I'm going to get exactly Seiko watch, what I'm ordering.
Yeah, but people might call her shop and ask for a dozen roses, and she's going to quote them at $39.95 or something.
Exactly.
And then they're going to go, oh, heck,
Oh.
I'm going to look online,
That's what
compare
is,
prices.
That is what is happening.
And then,
Well, we'll talk
you're
more
going to find
about this issue.
$19.95 and say, I'm going to get the $19.95 ones.
Well, that's kind of what I was wondering. With all fairness to her, and I do respect that she has a legitimate issue, I think anybody that gets an order via the internet that is a Bartlett business potentially has an issue if a broker's in between. This is 3 months in a row we've dedicated to this, and I think that we realized the first month all we can do is make recommendations, and that's about it. I truly empathize with what she feels, and she explained it eloquently when she was here in person. I think we steered it to our chamber. We recommended things with the state, with the other trade organizations. And frankly, this isn't just a Bartlett, a state of Illinois, even the United States of America. It is a global issue because the internet is a global thing. Bartlett's EDC won't gain much more or less revenue over this issue or be able to fix it. And I'm thinking, with all respect, I think we've done all we can. And
I think you're
I
right.
agree with that as well.
Yeah.
Well, she's not really worried about the 20%, the sales tax that the state's losing. She's worried about the 20% that she's losing. If she can be competitive, and we could make public aware that, there's competitive prices there.
do you think the public really
maybe
cares,
she'd pick up
honestly?
more orders.
The public to your face will say they care. Behind their doors, they're going to care about the best value.
Well, value and price are
Right,
sometimes
value
two
and
different
pricing,
things.
right.
And everybody cannot be Walmart, like they say that you come with a coupon or come with a flyer and we match the price. Not everybody can do that.
Right.
And unfortunately, yeah, so that's a...
Yeah, it's all part of the shop locally program, and people go in there and they think the prices are good, they'll buy there.
But we don't have what
Is there-
people want to shop.
Has there been any discussion from the board about a proclamation?
No, not at this point.
I think they're waiting for how the chamber's going to deal with it, as Mike reported, and our board will support, we'll probably bring it back to you, and if you make that recommendation after the chamber finalizes their position, I'm sure that the board will support it.
I'm just having a little bit of trouble understanding the truth in online advertising. Where's the lie? I mean, what's the lie?
Because they're,
It has to do with the location of the
They're saying
business.
it's a Bartlett
They don't
location,
realize
it's not.
that they're going to be.
No, they gave us examples last month where there was a Bartlett florist
Right.
that's actually, and the address is it's a dental practice, so if you think you're ordering
But
from
it
a Bartlett florist, you are not. You are ordering from,
Well, when I order online from FTD or something, I don't expect it to.
no,
come
but this
from
one, there were specific examples where it said it says Bartlett florist, and it has and they had an address, yeah. And it gave an address. Yeah, well, and it gave an address.
Oh, really?
A fake.
Oh, okay.
It gave a fake address for a dental practice over by McDonald's. That was what started it.
They were using that address, this purported Bartlett florist.
We're using
Yeah,
the Bartlett
it's an online.
Yes.
It's an online.
indicating that
Yes.
the delivery would be
From-
from Bartlett and it
Right,
wasn't.
right.
Just as a clarification, truth in advertising is an industry term, and it doesn't necessarily imply a lie. What it truly means is you're not getting all the information. So that's what they're saying. Truth in advertising is like, don't tell me just as much, tell me all of it. And that's what that lady would like, and anybody would like somebody to know is, yes, you're buying from us, but this is the rest of the story. It's going through this broker. So that's what truth in advertising means. There's more to the story.
Okay, I understand that. I haven't ordered flowers online in so long that I don't remember if they told me they were coming from a specific location or not.
When I get a job, I'll buy you some flowers, and I'll send them to you.
I'll try it on my next anniversary next year, see how it works.
Right.
I would suggest you shop locally.
I'll try that first. I'll go home and compare
We will.
So you grow your own flowers and bring them to your wife, right, Terry?
A phone call takes almost the same time as
Online.
shopping online, and you
Yeah,
go direct to the
right.
florist. If you don't want to walk in and pick out your flowers, you got to call a florist you trust and say, I got this much to spend for this, do the best you can.
Yeah, you can shop
People are
online
funny,
with the
though.
local florists, too. Just send them an email. They all have email addresses, you know. So.
People are funny, though. I mean, it's the same amount of effort to write a check and put a stamp and, mail a bill versus paying it online. Sometimes people, even though it's easy, like you said, to pick up a phone, that little bit of comfort to just sit at their computer and not talk to anybody, and they'll opt for it. And yet, you're right. If you talk to somebody, you may find out a lot more information to make a more informed choice.
But I think if people were aware of the situation, they might take that little extra trouble. I know I will.
Okay. Let's move on to the next agenda item, which would be the sales tax revenue comparison between the various surrounding villages in the area.
Thanks, Jerry. This was brought up by Commissioner Jim Russell towards the end of last meeting, where he asked some questions about comparing Bartlett's sales tax revenues to those of some of the surrounding communities. We were, or I should say, he was bringing up specifically Carroll Stream, Hanover Park, and Streamwood. And as I mentioned, you can quickly and easily look up sales tax revenues in every town in the state every month through the Department of Revenue website. If you recall, I had sent you folks some of the same numbers a day or two after the meeting, but I'm putting it in a more formal memo this month with some additional information. So, as the EDC suspected, sales tax revenues for the three communities Commissioner Russell asked about exceeded those of the village of Bartlett. Because I looked this up actually about almost a month ago, the sales tax figures are from April, but they're similar on a month-by-month basis. So Bartlett's sales tax revenues for the month of April was $153,000. Keep in mind that's 1%. So that means there were $15.3 million worth of taxable sales in the village that month. Carroll Stream, you can see, was very high at $528,000, and also an additional $320,000 in home rule sales tax. Hanover Park, $484,000 plus $317,000 in home rule sales tax. Streamwood, $324,000 plus another $205,000 in home rule sales tax. The next sentence makes clear Bartlett doesn't charge a home rule sales tax.
Could you explain what that is?
Yeah, as a home rule community, Bartlett would have the ability to impose an extra sales tax.
Could you explain to people what a home rule sales tax is?
Right.
That's what he's trying to
That's what I was doing. Bartlett is a home rule community based upon the size of the population. I believe it's 25,000 automatically puts you in as a home rule community. It gives you added ability to make your own ordinances and regulations and laws, and also taxes. So a lot of communities impose a home rule sales tax. That means, let's say Bartlett, I wouldn't even want to bring this up, but decided to impose a home rule sales tax. That would be an additional sales tax on top of what already exists. So you've got the county, the state, then you would have, and the village gets 1% now, this could be an extra percentage.
How is that paid? Is that paid with the receipt? Like
Exactly.
Okay, so it doesn't come from the citizens off their taxes. It comes if they shop local
Right.
in each of these towns.
It's
Gotcha.
exactly a sales tax. Instead of paying 8% in the DuPage County portion of Bartlett, you'd pay 9% if the village had a home rule sales tax.
The Department of Revenue would collect it, and then they distribute it back to that community.
Right.
It's still done the same way, but
Right.
they have a list of all the towns who have those sales taxes, so they distribute it based on those sales.
Right. Thanks, Jim. Reasons for the discrepancy, I was asked at the meeting, why are the sales revenue so much higher from the other communities? The obvious answer being that they have more sales tax producing businesses, but what are those, what exactly are those, without going list by list in every community, and they don't all have ready-made lists available. Actually, most communities don't, but they have, Bartlett only has a couple of the larger shopping centers. That's at the intersection of Stearns and 59, the Home Depot, where the Walgreens is, where Bannerman's is, where the Dominic's was. That's the major shopping area of the village. The village doesn't really have high sales tax producing businesses such as auto dealerships and big box retailers. If you look in all these other towns, you go up and down Barrington Road or you go up and down Irving Park Road, you see businesses like Target, Walmart, Meijer. One of the towns out of the three has not just one grocery store, but 4, 5, 6 different ethnic grocery stores. So more sales tax producing businesses, automotive uses, pet stores, things jewelry, whatever. A lot more sales tax producing businesses. What Jim urged me to do was to look at land uses that were dedicated to commercial uses. And if I could draw your attention to these charts that follow, these nice colored charts, and I'll go over them quickly. The first one that says land use inventory, but doesn't state what town it is, that's Bartlett's. That's something that our GIS technician puts together, and you can see that out of the 16 square miles in Bartlett, which is 10,256 acres, only 2.7% of it is dedicated to commercial uses. One thing I wanted to point out was the industrial use is much higher. That's Brewster Creek Business Park. That's some future development areas in Bluff City. If you recall, the older industrial is right around the corner here along Devon. So the industrial use is much higher. And one of the things you can see that it makes the community much nicer to live in, but less attractive to retailers is the 29.83% of open space. And that's by far the most of these communities we're looking at. So let me go to the next chart. Do you folks see the Carroll Stream land use map that I have here on the next page? I did get in touch with staff from Carroll Stream. I didn't realize their population's almost exactly the same as Bartlett, 39,711. The whole village is only 9 square miles, so it's about half the size of Bartlett. It has 10.4% of the land dedicated to commercial uses. If you recall, Bartlett's at 2.7, and this number kind of boggles my mind. Just eyeballing it, Jim and I thought that about a quarter of the village was industrial use, which is still a huge amount, but it's 28%. They told me 28%, that whole purple area on the east side of the zoning map is all industrial. So they've got a gigantic industrial base, but as you recall, that doesn't necessarily produce sales tax. The next village I want to bring to your attention is our neighbor to the north, is Streamwood. Their population by the 2010 census was 39,858. The whole village is 7.8 square miles, so again, about half the size of Bartlett with the same population. I did get in touch with somebody about the percentages, and they have 6% of their villages dedicated to commercial and 5% industrial. Their economic development person there also mentioned to me that they have 3% commercial space that hasn't been built yet, which is interesting because I suspected they were fully built out, but that's not the case. So in a nutshell, they have approximately twice the amount of commercial space that the Village of Bartlett has in about half the space. And last but not least, I have the Hanover Park map. Unfortunately, my contact over there has been on vacation out of the country, so she didn't get back to me on the land use percentages. But the population is about 38,000. The entire village is only 6 square miles, so it's less than half the size of Bartlett. Actually, about 37% of the size of Bartlett. Judging by the red along Irving, you can see along Lake Street and along Irving Park Road. You folks all know you can drive miles on Irving Park Road, and there's solid commercial, pretty much all the way from Route 59 all the way to when you get into Schaumburg. So I don't know the exact acreage of that. I can bring that, I'll email that to you all when I find out. But I suspect it's a greater amount than 2.7%. I would guess probably 2 or 3 times that percentage. So that is, hopefully answers probably not all the questions you had about it, Jim, but some of them. They're smaller, more compact towns. The density of residential population, obviously, 39,000 people in 6 square miles is quite a bit different than 42,000 in 16 square miles.
It's actually very helpful. I didn't expect these charts. These charts are wonderful. I realize they're not necessarily apples to apples, but they're close enough. Anyone can spend a little time in between that and the revenue numbers and things you pointed out that aren't necessarily there about the actual physical size. Everybody, Bartlett knows Bartlett went on a land grab years ago, and we have all this land, and then we've got all this green space with forest preserves and stuff that we can't do anything about. We have the most space, but I didn't, for example, realize that all 4 towns were so close in population. That was eye-opening for me. I knew about that industrial area in Carroll Stream. Anybody goes there, you know, I forget the name of the street on East, but it's that nice big rectangle, and that's heavy in there. But what I've known, just simply as a person driving, each of the towns is exactly what you just said. They've got more developed on their main roads. Carroll Stream and Hanover Park on Army Trail, on what is it, Gary or North? I think it's
Right, Gary.
maybe Gary. Yeah, Gary's heavily developed. Down on North Avenue, Carroll Stream has a lot there. Streamwood has, and Hanover Park have Irving. They share Barrington. Streamwood has a lot on 59. Bartlett, honestly, we've got one spot. Gorski's, for all intents and purposes, is a non-issue. That little thing on Lake Street that was put up 20 years ago that nobody pays attention to, that's a non-issue. Downtown, with all respect to people that love the quaintness of the downtown, is a non-issue. We have one place. Everybody else has a variety of places. What's it called? Home sales tax?
A home rule sales
Home
tax?
rule sales
Yeah.
tax. Home rule sales tax or not, almost is notwithstanding, because the next closest town money-wise is more than double us. When I moved in here 35 years ago, Bartlett, Hanover, and Streamwood, and I don't know who coined this, if it was official or unofficial, they called it Tri-Village. Bartlett was considered the rich village. Hanover Park was kind of, and Streamwood had a really bad reputation as being unwed mothers, probably very, very unjustly labeled. I have watched over the years, especially Streamwood, just rebuild the heck out of their town. They've won state awards. Irving Park Road had no curbs for ages. It's all done. 59 and Irving had a gas station and a pizza place, and now that rivals Stearns and 59 and Bartlett. It easily rivals it. They've got a Super Target. I think they have a Kohl's. There's a Jimmy John's across the street. There's fast food on all 4 corners. And that's not their only thing. This is why I got an EDC. With all respect to the flower lady, this is what makes me think about ADC every day of the month and just bothers the heck out of me.
I have a question, real quick, because it might help out. Are the bond ratings for all these villages the same? Because I know Bartlett's bond rating is extraordinarily high because of our budget.
That's a good question. Bartlett's is double A plus. Is it double A plus? It's not triple A, but it's just a notch below it, I believe. You know what? I'm curious now. I'd like to look up the bond rating in the other
part
towns.
of what's happening, Jim, is that sometimes some of that growth takes its toll on finances of the village, and it may be telling to see what the bond ratings are.
You're right, but you know what? Here's the thing. If you have a slightly lower bond rating, but you're generating big money, which is more important, a bond rating or the making a lot of money?
It all depends on how much you owe.
Right.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
And we have the limited space, too, and that's been the limiting factor, and it will always be the limiting factor. We only have so much space to put in retail
We have
shop.
more undeveloped space than any of those towns put together.
Hey, Tony,
I
By
can tell you
choice.
that years
A
ago,
lot of it's by choice.
our Bartlett planned the same kinds of things that Streamwood and Carroll Stream and those towns had. And what you're looking at, our commercial and residential expansion is now a nice big state park and forest preserve. Because all the land from 59 and Stearns Road going west on Stearns Road, both sides of that street, that was all annexed, and it was given the name of Mineral Land and Resources Development. And it was all planned, and there's old maps in the basement that show commercial areas at all along the streets and additional density and everything. And one day, and this goes probably back about 1987, 86, our state senator, who was a woman named Doris Carpio, called up Valerie, and this is a little anecdotal. She said, hey, we're voting on this piece of property the state's going to buy, and it has a Bartlett, and the legal description, it didn't have a Bartlett address, it had a Bartlett legal description. It's in Bartlett. Do you know what it is? And she called, and lo and behold, it was the state buying that property that we annexed probably a year or two before for their new state park. And it was our future development going west. And what the remnants of what came out of that, because she held the vote, because she was pretty powerful at that time, the village was able to annex at least and get developed the Woodland Hills subdivision, and the rest of and a little portion, and it's bigger than a little portion, but it was the West Ridge property, if you know West Ridge going out West Bartlett Road to Route 25, and the balance of that stuff. The balance of that property, it was, and I don't remember all the exact acreages, but it was huge. It was several thousand acres, all went in one fell vote, and the state bought it. And then they felt sorry for us years later, and that's how we got some of the land for the Kohler Fields. They said, well, we took a lot of your future development, but we'll give you land back because we parlayed it with some other land that we got, and we got a 30-acre ball field instead of 10 acres. But at least they gave some of that is on state property. But that's what happened to all the future development expansion. Like as you said, the Streamwoods did all those. All those towns didn't have to compete with the state nobody was going to take their land for state park like they did for the village. Now, lo and behold, all these years later, it's very nice. I mean, people look at Bartlett, and you got all these nice open spaces between these clustered developments. It turned out very beautiful, and it makes our town that much more desirable to live in. But you're struggling to find. That's why we hold on to the very pieces of commercial that we still have left to develop.
I think anybody that's ever played one of these sim games understands the general concept of a balance between residential, commercial, and industrial. You guys in community development, EDC, you understand better than anybody. Granted, we have a lot of beautiful open land. There's no question. Bartlett is a beautiful town. I love this town very much. I didn't move here because I loved it, but I fell in love with it after many years, despite where I live. And even that, it's still a very nice town, whether you're in the rich part, the poor part, or someplace in between. None of us lack for choices for shopping. I don't mind taking rides out to St. Charles often, or Aurora, or where a lot of people shop, Barrington and Irving, or Woodfield, or wherever. I'm happy to spend my money, what it is, where I'm going to get the best value. I always feel bad that virtually none of it is spent in Bartlett. When I moved here, we had 2 gas stations in town, Jim Standard and the one right across the street. We had, I think, 1 station on 59. Now there's 2 or 3, and Jewel's got a station. We have no stations on the old end of town. We had 3, then 4 grocery stores. Now we have 1. If we were rural and we really lack for places to shop, that would be bad. We don't lack for places to shop, but I think anybody that wants to shop Bartlett, the names that you know to go to eat may not necessarily be the best health choices, but inevitably, as a family, those are the ones that you want to go to, whether it's a Taco Bell or KFC or Burger King. Those are limited to only that little spot there on 59. The Starbucks, there's one on South 59. Bartlett doesn't offer a lot of this stuff, and I think in some ways we trade open spaces and quaint and being very much a bedroom community, we give away a lot of our commercial and things that could be helpful to the town. And I hope someplace down the road that, in my vision, there's a little more balance without losing the charm of the town.
Can I ask you guys a question? You brought up a really good point in the numbers here. One of the things you said that Bartlett doesn't have, like the big ticket items like car dealerships, that generate high volume of sales tax. So with the property with the RV dealer, that's gone out of business, and then we have the TIF for 59 and 20. Have we maybe proactively gone after big ticket industries such as the auto industry to try to get dealerships in that area, because it's a selling point to say, look, you can sell the same exact car and save, if it looks like the additional tax is 0.65%, and say, you can have a competitive advantage, just come to Bartlett. You can sell the same car for the same price and it costs your customer less on paper. It might be $500, but $500 when you're buying a car is what you walk away with. Have we done that?
I could be wrong, but I thought I was doing a little research beforehand, and I thought vehicles were excluded from the homes, from the home rule. I thought that they specifically excluded autos, and I don't know why.
And maybe rather than automobiles, maybe other big ticket type of items. Whether it's whatever else it might be. Have we approached that strategy?
Yeah, interestingly enough, we have. Even I remember 9 years ago, my first week here, I met with a car dealer and looked at some sites on Lake Street, and did whatever I could to sell the location. Thought that would be a home run, right, or a grand slam right in the first month on the job. They are reluctant to be out there on their own. I've spoken maybe with 2 or 3 dealerships just over the years. All of them have told me the same thing. I want to be in a row of auto dealers in Schaumburg on Gulf Road, or I want to be out on Randall Road or somewhere where the way I went shopping the last few, I hate shopping for cars, but drive to dealership A and ask for a price, and then drive another few blocks and go to dealership B. As you know, there is a dealership coming to Lake Street right next to the closed RV dealership. So that would be one dealership out there that I think may be able to help attract a future one as well.
Is that a name brand or is that a used car?
It's big. No, big name. Elgin Toyota.
But that's not Bartlett, really? Though, right?
That's going to Streamwood.
Yeah.
They we met with him, and he looked at the Bartlett site, and he didn't like the access to the site.
Oh, what a love.
Thank you.
Yeah, so that's the answer to that. In my experience, just a few times I've spoken to auto dealers.
Yeah, but you know what? I mean, if that became successful, because you're right, with some examples, because downtown Roselle, you've got a Ford and a Chevy dealer, and that's it, and they've both been there for years. But most other examples are, like I said, in the city, Irving Park Road, in Elgin, Irving Park Road, Schaumburg, Golf Road. They're all big clusters. Yet even in Schaumburg, especially with the bad economy, a lot of them closed. And then there's this little group that started popping up in Hoffman Estates, same street. Some didn't work, but most are working. But I think it is true. If you can get that first guy, and if he's successful, then possibly...
That's exactly what we're hoping, that they can see there's a potential for a good location along Lake Street for auto
anything
dealers.
that does well on Lake Street, any place in the periphery, or even on 59, in the periphery of Lake Street and 59, any one business that does really well, besides Cadillac Ranch, that whole corner could suddenly have residual effect. This guy's doing well. Boom, let's take a look at that corner again. Could be a big box versus a car dealer, but it's still all of a sudden this corner just got appeal again.
Right.
What's the sales tax revenue? What percentage of our annual budget is that represent about?
You know, I don't know the exact percentage, but it's actually a smaller percentage. That's another thing, a whole other subject. Some of these towns are almost completely reliant on their sales tax, and they live and they die, you know, with
what's the main
sales.
What's the main driver for our revenue?
I believe it's income tax and property tax.
And you get property tax from the commercial developments that we're trying to pursue. Right.
Well, residential and commercial, right. Right. The village's share of property tax, just to let you know, it's about 9% of a property tax bill.
I mean, because I love the open space of Bartlett. You know, when you look at these maps, it's obvious, and I think you see that in property values too.
Yeah.
So
Jim Russell just encapsulated what I've heard and what I've thought and learned over so many years. I met with, not to rehash this right now, but with potential grocers for the Dominic space, and that Stearns and 59 corner is actually very low density. If you go 1, 3, and 5 miles, it's really low density. And somebody asked me even recently, what's all the green west of that? He didn't know what the zoning map was. He said, what's all the green west of that intersection? I said, well, that's all forest preserves. And that wasn't what they wanted. They wanted apartment buildings, as far as the eye could see. So it's a double-edged sword in some cases.
Do you guys get much flack or kickback or complaints from the people that live out by West Bartlett and 25, now that they've been there a while, saying, okay, we got a church, we got a school, we got nothing else but a strip joint and a gas station? That's what it is. I mean, it's the truth.
No, you're right.
A lot of people ask us when things are going to come. We've approved other developments out there that never got built.
I mean, real estate people probably are saying, oh, and there's the strip mall coming, and this is coming, and it's all established, and there's nothing coming.
Yeah, we've had a couple of developments that were approved and never got built out that way. So it'll happen someday, but there's land for commercial and industrial out there. The corner of 25 and West Bartlett has got commercial on the corner, and then offices, and then industrial, and it'll occur. It'd be nice sooner than later, but that area hasn't developed as it was planned to.
He grades the heck out of it, and just constantly grading it and grading it and grading it.
They're trying to attract development
and trying to attract some developers out or projects out there. So
they've started reaching out to local industrial brokers as well. Most of these people and the companies they represent, they don't have a lot of patience where they want to hear some land will be ready in a year or 2 years. Sometimes they'll call you July 14th and say they want to be in their building, by the end of the year. So they're trying to get to the point where in our meetings years from now we can say there's this project coming to the Bluff City area. And it's month by month, year by year, it's getting closer. So that's why they're grading it. But there's not a project in hand at this point.
I'll tell you something else that I hope you guys are aware of, but could have a very big impact on Bartlett, economically handled right. Anybody that's lived here any length of time, watched when Big Jim Thompson and his sidekick pushed, and they put that little piece of the Elgin O'Hare, which neither goes to Elgin nor O'Hare. And all of a sudden, work has begun. And anybody that wants to look online at EOWA, Elgin O'Hare Western Expansion, specific word, Western. All the work they're doing is Eastern, but they very much have Western on their target. And if you look at the map, basically what they're doing now, I think right about at Irving Park Road, they're adding like 2 lanes, both sides, all the way, and then when they get to Thorndale, I think Thorndale's going to disappear. And they're going to take it all the way to York or Elmhurst or whatever it is, the road at the edge of O'Hare, and then it's going to go around.
Can I interrupt? Can we stay on topic?
Yeah, I am on topic, if you don't
I
mind.
don't-
This
you know,
very
it's
much
not on
has to do
topic
with
anymore.
revenue.
Talking about the Elgin O'Hare.
Yeah. I think we're starting to wander a little bit off the
fine.
main
If I have
main
something to
issue
talk about, it's
with,
always
You've been
wandering.
going on for
little divergent discussion here.
We speak 25 minutes about one lady's flower shop, but we can't talk about economic revenue potential.
I think we're just comparing revenues here. We're not trying to come up with,
Brought up, you're just.
we're not trying to come up with solutions at this point.
All right,
and
I
why
retract, I'll bring it up
cause
in
and
new
effect
business, I apologize.
issues.
Okay.
Let's move on to the next agenda item, which is the new dining guide.
Thank you, Jerry. This ties in pretty well with a lot of the conversations we've had about promoting our local businesses. Staff has updated the dining guide to include several new venues, including Emily's Mexican Grill, Golden Bowl, the new Dunkin' Donuts on Lake Street, the long-awaited Tokyo Steakhouse. It's been here for a while, but you recall Nescafe was empty for over 2 years. O'Hare's Pub, the Still Bar and Grill, just a couple doors south of here, and Marco's Pizza, which you could look out the window and see from here, and they're working diligently on opening. 1,500 guides were printed, and they've been placed at Village Hall, right down the hall here in the main office and upstairs in the training room. You can find them in the Metra train station, Chamber of Commerce, the Depot Museum, dropped off a bunch at Arts and Bartlett, the Bartlett Library, the Community Center, at Banbury Fair, and also at Donna Weir's Bank, American Chartered Bank, and a few other smaller businesses around town where I've just dropped off a little stack. So I don't have one in front of me right now, but I prepared a small stack for each of the commissioners to do whatever you want with them. Hand them to your next door neighbor. If you have somebody coming over and interested in eating somewhere. You folks are all great emissaries for the village, so I only wish I could have more to give to you. Once you get 1,500, I start handing out stacks of 100. Before I know it, I don't have any more. So this is something that we've updated a couple. I went back into my records. This is the 4th one.
Can I suggest 2 odd places? They may not seem right, but they'll work where people might pick them up. Our library.
Well, library, we have them.
Right behind it, the fitness center, the Oak Room in their lobby. Because
Right.
people may go someplace from there, and if they grab it, oh, here's a restaurant in Bartlett, let's try it.
Yeah, we have them in both those locations. The EDC a few years ago suggested the library and the community center, so I've dropped it off there the last few years. I happen to have stopped by the library today, and they're going pretty fast. And so you'll see them all around town. I've said this before at the EDC. It's one of my pet peeves when somebody tells me there's nowhere to eat in the town. We're just talking about sales tax, places to shop. Well, one thing that we do have is a lot of eating and drinking establishments, and we're getting more. It's not just static at this point. I don't know if you all realize that. I mean, Marco's is going into a space that wasn't a restaurant before, so they're not just simply replacing a pizzeria that closed last year. There's a potential restaurant right next door to them that may or may not work out due to building issues, but that's potentially another restaurant that's going in. Where the Still is right next door to here, had been a restaurant for many years, of course, in a few different Village Pizza and Massey's, but it was empty for years. It was empty for quite a few years. So I just want to always bring that up, and that, you know, once you have 10 or a dozen restaurants downtown, you can start saying, let's go downtown to grab a bite to eat, and not just have a choice between TL's and Pasta Mia. So there's other places now. They are all price ranges. Marco's is along the lower, $5.99, $6.99 for a sandwich. You know, the pizza there, I think, will be more reasonably priced. You know, I wanted to hand you all multiple copies of the dining guide too, so wherever your favorite business happens to be in town, or your own business, just put a stack out. And you know, I've, even just walking around the town, I've handed them to some people. They've been thankful. They like it.
We found them very useful at Arts and Bartlett, because a lot of people stop in who are not from Bartlett, might be visiting relatives here or waiting for a train or something, and they're taking them. And another way we're encouraging people to go to local restaurants is we have a monthly dine-around. It's kind of a social event, but it's also a small fundraiser for us. If a restaurant will agree to give us a small portion of each check to Arts and Bartlett, we'll get the crowd out there. And we're on our fourth one this month, and it's been real successful.
That's right.
Do you think some of the high-traffic businesses would accept some of these, Tony, specifically like Home Depot, because of the traffic that they have from people that are coming in from out of town, even
I think so.
Delivery people, and then the Central DuPage doctor's offices, because they have a diagnostics facility there. Sometimes you get people that are sitting around waiting sometimes for a couple of hours. And
Those are both great ideas. I
mean,
mean,
and
the
again-
Jewel, the Home Depot are the two biggest stores.
Right.
Those would be great places to
And
be able to drop
and
these.
again, especially for those two areas that are up at 59 and Stearns,
Mm-hmm.
these actually would give people, options for maybe healthier dining rather than the fast food restaurants that are out on that corridor.
That's a good point. Yeah, I've got maybe 100 left in my own possession. I'll check to see if they'll let us put those
Printing
in.
more sooner than later.
Or as Jim says, yeah, maybe 1,500 usually lasts quite a while, but they look nicer than they have, and there's more places to eat than there have been. So I'm hoping that people use them.
Okay, I think that what we just discussed kind of dovetails in a lot of what Jim's or Tony's going to talk about on the next agenda item, new business.
Sure.
Tony, you want
And
to tell us about it?
I would like to, yes. I've printed out a bullet point list this month instead of just trying to rattle off the new businesses coming in and things going on. So I put the still up top. You folks have all know that it's open. I'll just say that it's open to good reviews. It's been fairly crowded. I've eaten there twice, and I've enjoyed it both times. And, that's one of those restaurants that I probably sat here January through May, and even probably the June meeting telling you it was going to open soon. So in June, I promised you it would open soon, and so they did. They opened, I think, June 13th. So that's one. There's another business. I couldn't remember the name of it last month. Its name is CrossFit Ariak, and CrossFit is a franchise that combines strength and conditioning training, gymnastics, weightlifting, cardiovascular. And as I was told right when the meeting started, in the same building is Mike Sobel's business, Mark Your Space. Bartlett Sports isn't a new business at all, but I wanted to point out that for many years they were in that house-like structure 2 doors down from Village Hall, and then they moved into a small upstairs unit in Westgate Commons. They were there for 5 or 6 years, and they've moved back into the core downtown Main Street. If you folks know Main Street Plaza, same center where the Still is located. They moved into that end cap location now, all the way at the south end. So they're back in there now. Another business in town is The Whole Pet. They're located in Westgate Commons, and right now they're petitioning the village to relocate and expand their business into 810 South Route 59. That's the northernmost space in the Bartlett Commons Shopping Center. I just put Home to Bannerman's on there because people don't know the name of all the shopping centers. They want to increase their size and their parking capacity, and we're just happy that they're staying in town. They looked at a lot of different spaces through town, found that one to their liking, and I believe it's pending before the village board at this point for final approval. In August. Thanks, Jim. Two more businesses that I put in the coming soon category. Already mentioned Marco's Pizza. That's going right in that corner location of Town Center. That very briefly was a dry cleaning location. And there's another shop opening north of the tracks at 143 South Oak called Bears and Bees Consignment Shop. And for lack of a better description, it's a cute kind of antique place. It's got bear and bees motif, and that's the building, again, another building that's been empty for years. The last occupant there was Bartlett Books, but a lot of you may remember Denise's Back in Bloom that was located there for quite a few years.
I saw a sign today said opening July 19th.
Oh.
Her plan is to open July 19th. Let's hope that she can make that. I didn't want to say that for sure, that July 19th. Let's just say this summer.
Hey, soon.
Yeah. There's a music academy that staff is working with that has been previously located in Schaumburg. I'm not clear if they're relocating or expanding into two locations, but they're going to be over there in Westgate Commons, ABC Music Academy. So I'll tell you folks more about that once it's open and I have more details. I wanted to mention Heritage Days. That's September 5th through 7th this year. And one thing I'm excited about working on it is I have contracted for some posters along 3 of the metro stations. And we did that years ago, back when there was TIF money to do more advertising. So we're doing that again. And it's one of the things I think Tracy Smadilla and some of the other commissioners asked about, branching out our marketing reach into different venues. And so just so you know, the price for this is $1,200 for the space, so $400 each, and $216 for poster production, so about $1,400 to do this. And what I put on this was half the price of 2-sheet posters. Those are larger. Those are some posters you notice a little bit more when you're on the train. $800 each is just too much money to spend on those. So this year we're going for the 1 sheets. The Hanover Park one was not available. So I originally had requested Elgin, Bartlett, and Hanover Park. But we got bumped out of the Hanover Park spot just last week, so took Roselle as a consolation prize for that. And then I wanted to make one more notification about the Discover Bartlett page. Going pretty well, over 3,000 likes. Lots of events have been posted already this month, and lots more are coming up. Today I posted the Pink Heels tour, which is tomorrow. Other things coming out, Party in the Park, Sonic's 5-year anniversary. Can't forget Dine Out for the Arts, and grand openings for Marco's and the Bears and Bees shop when those do transpire.
It is effective.
So, yeah.
Effective, yes, very nice.
Thank you.
So
And-
I assume you're putting Bartlett Heritage Days in there?
Oh, yeah,
And
yeah.
then
I'm on the,
National Night
Cecilia
Out?
can tell you, I've been on the Heritage Days Committee since it started, so I would never forget
And
that.
I think those sandwich
Yeah.
boards were very effective for the art fair. A lot of people mentioned they saw them, and
Oh, good.
they were in strategic spots. And
Good. That could be another huge item for an upcoming meeting, too, another update on the 24 recommendations. But I've been getting real good comments, too, from the sandwich boards. People are surprised when they learn that the village bought them and, had them built and put them out and take them up. And I've
Yeah,
been
I had
asked,
someone say, I saw a man taking your sign off the street, and I said, oh, no, that was Tony. And
Yeah, yeah.
Billy, it's okay.
I've been doing it. You might see me out there on a Friday putting it out, and Public Works picks them up on Sundays for me. And then,
I think it's worth mentioning that Arts and Bartlett has signed a lease to move into town center. It's not a for-profit business, but it certainly adds revenue to the village through the money that the artists make and the teachers in our arts center. So we'll be where Black Tie Salon was. How long has that been empty? It's been
that
several
was a
years.
big victim of the recession. That might have been even from '08 or '09.
Yeah. So we're pretty excited about it, and we'll start build out very soon.
Yeah, I didn't want to announce that instead of you, so I thank you for bringing that up.
Since it's not a
Yeah.
for-profit business, it wasn't important
No,
enough
it's-
to mention.
I do want to make say something about that. That's going to be a huge draw for that center. And whereas it might not be a place where people are going in and shopping and leaving and back and forth,
Well, we hope.
so many people are going to go there
Yeah.
on a weekly basis. They're going to patronize other businesses. It's going to, I think it's going to vastly increase their visibility because people will see it when they're making that drive that every car does in downtown, which is from Railroad to Main Street. And so, yeah, that's something we've worked on with Cecilia. We're very excited about.
Yeah, and it'll double the space we have now and allow us to have a more upscale gallery in the front and a gift center further back.
That's great.
Great, that's great.
Double our children's art studio, and then we'll have 6 studios. 4 of them are already spoken for, and we haven't even advertised, so we won't have any problem filling the remaining 2 with artists or musicians. So
That's great.
there's a small performance space, and it's just a very, I don't know if you were ever in it when it was a salon, but it has some very nice architectural features, and, you know, there's some things still remaining that we can use. So,
Best part is you're going to have visibility.
pardon?
Visibility part, the location is very important.
Yes.
That's the added value.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
When they have their big opening, we should all go to that together. That'll be historic. That'll be great.
And the really cool thing about it is, and you know, Nyan, how important volunteers are. We are not having to pay a contractor. We have volunteers for everything but the things that have to be done by licensed plumbers and electricians and those sort of things.
That's great.
Congratulations, that's huge.
Yeah,
Well,
thanks
I
for
think
telling the
that, you know,
commission.
as we think about how the Arts in Bartlett, the moving to the center is going to impact foot traffic, Elgin, since they opened up their art loft space down on Spring Street, has seen an increase in foot traffic from people coming from outside the community to go to the art space and then to patronize the restaurants that are up
Right.
and down Spring
Great.
Street. So
I've been down there, and it's a buzzing
It's
place.
gorgeous.
Buzzing.
Yeah.
fun.
Yeah.
All the businesses in there and the village, we're going to have to stress the parking in back.
Yes.
The front's going to be, every nice day, every parking space in front there is taken with Two Toots customers. And you've got Marco's soon to open, you've got Arts and Bartlett going there. I'm sure Cecilia and her organization will let all their clientele know that there's ample parking in back. There's over
Yeah,
110
that's-
spaces.
We
Well-
have to. There's no parking in
Well, just as we had new parking signs put up at the metro station, maybe this is something else that should be indicated to patrons so that they're aware of it.
Well,
We-
the
we've
good
told
thing
the
is there is
owners.
a back entrance that people can go in, and we'll have a sign in the back as well.
Right.
I'm just thinking about the general public at large. I mean, if they knew that there was overflow parking in the back, if there was something indicating that.
There is a sign at the end of that driveway, just a normal size sign, a couple square feet, but it does say additional parking in back.
At least 100 spaces.
I heard
never seen
Cecilia
that.
mention Heritage Days. I heard something interesting with regard to 4th of July. And I thought about this, and I was like, you guys should know this. Like they, in October, have the trolley running around through the different points of interest for Heritage Days, people say that the reason they won't go to the 4th of July stuff in Bartlett, which is great, it's absolutely great, there's no parking. You've got Jewel, you've got limited venues where you can park. And I heard somebody say, why don't they use the trolley? And I thought, my God, because I know somebody that worked with, I can't think of her name, TL, on the committee, who actually volunteers at the township, very actively involved setting this all up. And she has to be there hours ahead. But she said she's heard the same thing. People will they'll park over at Dominic's and walk, but there are a lot of people that just don't come because there's no parking. I thought, I know I've listened, sitting in town halls with Cecilia and Bruce and others talking about the trolley and the expense and whatnot. I'm wondering, for future consideration, how viable it would be to pull the trolley out of the mothballs for 4th of July and say, shuttle people from the Dominic's or Home Depot area. Maybe we'd have, not questioning how much attendance we do have, but maybe it would generate more if people knew they could park remotely, and this might be a stop that the trolley hits.
What trolley are you talking about?
Like the trolley you use for Heritage Days.
Yeah, that's a private individual's business.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's costly. It's pricey.
Just sharing what I was told, and I thought something they should know.
You could pass it along to the 4th of July committee. They would have to make that decision if they wanted to hire him. That he's got a location in Bartlett, so we'll pass that along.
Is that the one that I see parked over off of North and...
Right.
Right.
Okay, I thought it was, okay.
Yeah.
Just redressing the restaurants, what happened to Papa Puccino's / the Tap? What's going on there?
I'm going to kick this one over to Jim.
I've been dealing with the owner. He tells me somebody's been working in there, and he tells me he's going to open next week. So he has to have final inspections. He does have a building permit to take out. He has his liquor license renewed. So at least the Papa Puccino's part will reopen, and they will probably reopen as the Tap. And then the Lucky Jack's is still in a foreclosure kind of situation where the bank's, trying to transition that foreclosure into new property owners. And then that will probably, it is going to be a restaurant. It'll have to be obviously renovated a little bit, but the owners are probably waiting for our TIF district to open that. So I don't see that opening soon, but at least the Tap part of it, there's work in. I looked in it like Friday. It looked pretty whole back to where it was inside. So, it was pretty torn up. They tore up floors and everything. It looks like everything's put back, and according to the owner, they're supposed to open next week. So we'll see.
That's good.
Now.
Okay, final item on the agenda would be move to adjourn.
So moved.
Second, all in favor? Yay.
Aye.
Aye. Adjourned.